You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy Star ship has been designed.
Transporter Chief, beam our listeners aboard. Welcome to Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast on BQN. I am Counselor Amy Nelson, and with me, I have a full crew in the Galaxy Class.
What?
What?
Da-da-da-da.
Chief Recreational Officer, Ria Papagiorgio. Hello, Ria.
Good morning, Amy and gentlemen.
In your new place?
Yes, my new tiny little apartment. Let's not talk about that.
Ria with the cool. I want to go like Ortegas hair as opposed to Pike. It's giving me Ortegas vibes.
Ooh, because I went in, of course, new town, new hairdresser, first time, and went in like shooting for the Ortegas and came out with Pike's Peak, but I'm quite happy with it.
Like it.
Thank you.
Yep, very much.
Thank you.
Well, and that was Joe Keegan.
That was me, yes, indeed. Yes, the one with that
What's
accent.
your title? Where are you?
I don't know. I got a new haircut today, like Ria, and asked for it a bit shorter, but he's done that skin fade thing, so it goes from like skin up to slightly longer, and I feel very cool. Cool
Yes,
as in
you look
temperature
very
wise,
cool.
because I've got like built-in AC if I move very fast, but also like cool as in snazzy, as in one of the cool guys from Greece. Might of the
So
movie.
Your
John
head,
Travolta or somebody. Or head of new haircuts and scarifying. Let's go with that.
Okay,
Because I
very
bought
good.
a scarifier for the garden. A
what,
scarifier
pray
stuff
tell,
that kind
is a
of like
scarifier?
aerates under the grass
Oh,
and
gotcha.
like digs up all the moss. Because I've waged war against my garden.
I thought it was might be some kind of scarecrow to scare the birds away. Scarifier?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
A big picture of your face?
Rude.
Oh,
Be nice, Rita.
Well, and that was standard bearer Kevin Scarf. Hello, Kevin.
hi! Happy to be here, and it's nice to see all of your smiling faces.
Yes. So we were talking previously, listeners, we had the Star Trek Day on Paramount Plus, and some of you guys were able to watch it. I was not. I just got to hear comments in threads and seeing stuff on Facebook. So highlights from Star Trek Day that you guys want to mention. Ria, let's start with you.
Wilson Cruz. You know,
Aw.
I adore that man. And when he came on the screen, it was just like, and I had it on. It was my next to last day of work, so I was still working. But I wasn't like focused on the Star Trek Day stuff. But when Wilson came on, it's just like, it's like this breath of fresh air, this ray of sunshine, this just everything that's when I realized like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love this man. So I thought Jackie Cox did a great job, and Tawny Newsome. Like I said, I wasn't paying full attention. Just had it on in the background, and of course it was great to see Ken Mitchell and his shirt gifted to him by Mary Chieffo and designed by Scott from the Roddenberrys, the house band at STLV. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
56-year mission.
Kevin, highlights?
The tribute to Nichelle Nichols I thought was quite moving. I really liked that. And, you know, there were announcements about dates for things coming up. But I thought what really got me, and I mentioned it in our BQN host chat, is that feeling of Star Trek family and community, and that's what I really loved about it. It just seemed like people were there to celebrate the community that Star Trek has created, as well as be part of of the event, you know. So yeah, so Star Trek community, and and the Nichelle Nichols tribute was lovely.
Yeah. Joe, highlights.
Okay,
For
so
you?
top 3 then. Third place is seeing some of our STLV friends, because I refuse to call it by its proper name. And the audience. Yeah, we knew people in the audience, which was quite cool.
Yes.
Second place was all the trailers and all the wee sneak peeks that we got of all the upcoming seasons for all the new Star Trek. And then in joint first place was Bill Nye on the red carpet, along with Jerry Ryan's laugh. Jerry Ryan's laugh is just infectious, and Bill Nye is just a god hero.
Very
Bill
good.
Nye, the science guy. Boy, that's kind of fitting for today's episode.
There you go.
But before that, Amy, what were your highlights?
Oh, like
you
I
didn't
said,
watch
right.
Take back
Edit
her
that out.
credentials, please.
Well, we did get some release dates, so that was good for Prodigy and what was
Picard.
the other one? Picard, yes. So
I wasn't paying attention and missed that.
So what order are we getting things in? Lower Decks is currently going, and then after
then Prodigy.
Prodigy October
Prodigy
26th.
October, and then we'll be into the new year with Picard in February,
Yes.
and then they'll go straight into Discovery, followed by Strange New Worlds,
We hope.
and then we'll find ourselves back August 2023 having the same discussion.
Although Strange New Worlds has finished filming and Discovery is still filming, so we might get Strange New Worlds first.
A switcheroo. Interesting.
Yeah.
The golden age.
It really is.
Oh my gosh, it is.
And then there was the announcement of the Con podcast. Mike Nichols, who made Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, they had talked about doing a Khan television series, but instead they've decided to release it as an audio drama in podcast form. So I am looking forward to that as someone who is a devotee of many podcasts.
Did you
Another podcast to listen to.
Uh-huh.
Kevin, did you see The Wrath of Khan at the movie theatres, as you guys say?
I have not had an opportunity to get to the movie theaters to see Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
It was good.
yeah?
I did. And it was so cool because I had just moved here to the greater Phoenix area and came here directly from Vegas. And actually, when I got to Vegas, the very first person I saw as I'm pulling into the hotel to unload was a Star Trek friend from here in Phoenix. And we'd kind of talked a little bit, and he knew I was coming. And so we went together to see The Wrath of Khan here in Phoenix. And it was just the nicest thing to like kind of welcome me here to the area. And, we went out to eat, went to see the movie. And then last night on HNI TV, what original series episode was on? But Space Seed. So my favorite movie. And
Full circle.
I don't know. It's just like this Star Trek has welcomed me here into my new home. So
It's a sign.
You're meant to be in Phoenix.
Yes.
now I just need to get rid of so much stuff.
Well, let's check the communication array to see if we have any comments from our listeners.
Logs accessed.
We, on the subject of Galaxy Class episode 102, which was the STLV recap, I wasn't on that episode because I couldn't go to STLV, annoyingly, because it was in the middle of the school term. However, next year, they've moved it back to the beginning of August, and I'm going to go, even though I can't possibly afford the flights. Anyways, Greg Molumby, our good friend and STLV goer, said, good recap of the 56th year mission. It was awesome to see and hang out with so many different people. The cosplay was really cool this year, but I guess I missed the Angel cosplay. I did see someone as one of the Return of the Archon acolytes, as well as the Salt Monster, so that was pretty cool. To fill in some of the panel gaps since this episode passed over them, I spent most of my time on the 26th floor watching the science and podcast panels. Some of my highlights of the panels I did see: Tony Newsom and Don Lewis, Creation's tribute to Nichelle Nichols, showing a video highlight package of her at the convention, the Seventh Rule podcast talking about Aaron Eisenberg, astronomy myths, celebrating 20 and 40 years of Nemesis and Wrath of Khan, respectively, with Larry Nemeczek. The DS9 panel, when they did a very touching tribute to Renee, Aaron Eisenberg and Nichelle Nichols. And then John Noble had a panel on Sunday morning. My favourite panel, though, is always Kate Mulgrew, who just exudes wisdom and love. Amy Imhoff starts with a single question, and then Kate just carries the entire thing. It was a fun weekend. I am looking forward to being back at the Rio. Yeah, Greg, thanks for that. I had heard that they'd split it over the ground floor and the 26th floor, so I was really intrigued to see how that would work. I find it would be quite annoying, maybe. I'm not sure, but I wasn't there.
And thanks, as always, for your comments, Greg. I mean, I always appreciate the detail, the time that you take when you in your comments, but we appreciate the panel recap, since Amy and I didn't quite make it up there, but I've heard that a lot, that the panels on the 26th floor were really good this year.
And Greg and I got to share a couple dinners. He stayed an extra night, so Monday night we went out to dinner with some friends who had stuck around an extra day, so it was good to get some one-on-one time with Trek family. That's what it's about, so thank you, Greg.
Amen.
This is the captain. Senior officers will report to my ready room immediately.
Today we are going to continue our science series with Joe.
I feel like a special guest.
Yes.
At Star Trek Day, they may have had Bill Nye the Science Guy, but here at Galaxy Class, we have Joe Keegan, our science master.
Yeah, thanks for putting me in the same category as Bill Nye the Science Guy. That feel quite honoured.
You need a good name, though. Joe the Science Ho? I don't know.
Oh!
What rhymes with Keegan?
Had nothing to do with science, I don't think. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I have to be all sagely and wizened.
You need to, because you're prepping for the panel that you're going to be hosting next year at STLV.
Well, yeah, Ria's planted that seed.
That's right. Scottish science.
How amazing would that be to have Mohammed Noor and Joe Keegan and Bill Nye on the panel?
Nadine Bayati.
Yes.
And Aaron McDonald.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, we need to make that happen.
All on one panel. Joe, just sit there and look
Right?
pretty. Don't open your mouth.
That's fine.
Wow. Throwing shade.
I know.
I say it with love. I just called you pretty, Joe. Come on.
Do you know what? I know it's like with the science, I know it's never too difficult to make Ria look stupid, so that's why I'm here.
Boo, boo, boo. Shots
fired. Shots fired.
Well, Joe.
Yes.
Talk.
Amy, if I stroke my beard thusly. Yes.
You do look smart. Sure.
So, talk to us about transhumanism, Joe. What is this, and what have you been thinking about?
Well, I don't want to die. Ever. Amy, you should be an expert in transhumanism as well, because you've been reading the Bobbyverse books that I put you onto. And the idea is that basically when you die, your brain gets uploaded to some computer system, but it's an identical copy of you. So all your memories, everything that you know, your personality, ego, sense of self, everything is you distilled down into some kind of computer matrix. Do you implant that in an android body, or do you put it on a spaceship and go out and explore the universe? Who knows? But I kind of like that idea. The idea of transhumanism starts with anything as like having implants, like NFC chips embedded in your palms, so you could access the subway station or pay by contactless, or what do you call it?
Google Pay?
Touch to pay.
Touch to pay. Or tap to pay. Tap to pay.
Tap to pay. Yeah.
That's what Amy calls contactless. Tap to pay.
Because that's what it's called.
In your mind only. So having read the Bobbyverse books, and then I thought back, how does it relate to Star Trek? And I was really thinking about the schizoid man in Dr. Ira Graves, who's dying, and then takes his brain and implants it or transcodes it into Data's neural networks, and Data kind of becomes an android version of Dr. Ira Graves. But we've got other examples, listeners. People have been frantically typing in the notes. We've got Arium, who is... I always saw Arium as being cybernetic, like biological, but with a bunch of different implants in. I suppose you could argue that on that path to transhumanism, you've got Detmer and Geordi, and anybody with, or Rutherford from Lower Decks as well. They've got cybernetic implants that augment the human being as a step to being a digital person.
So would we put Data in this, or is that coming from the wrong starting point? Like, are you saying like transhumanism, starting human, and then going cybernetic?
Going beyond it, yes. So I think Data's trying to do it in reverse.
Sort of the reverse.
Yeah, because he's trying to be human. So I randomly Googled, I was like, how much can the human brain store? And I asked a biologist I'm working, they said, it's infinite. I was like, it can't possibly be infinite. Don't be stupid. No. There's a finite number of atoms in your brain.
And a finite space.
Finite volume, finite number of neurons and synapses that connect the neurons. But they've done some research. All the trillions upon trillions of neurons are in your brain individually have a total memory of a few gigabytes. So you could fit it on like a flash drive. Like just a wee thumb drive. However, if the thousands of connections, or is it trillions of connections that the neurons make with other neurons, kind of vastly increase the storage capacity of your brain, and it works out to be something like 2.5 petabytes.
Wow.
And a petabyte is 1,000 terabytes, and a terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes. So I don't know. Say you've got like. So it's like 2.5 billion gigabytes. No, 2.5 million gigabytes, which isn't a lot. I've got a storage server in the house that keeps personal files and stuff on, and it's 12 terabytes. So it's only, I don't know, a few, like 250 times bigger than that. No, maybe a bit more. So yeah, it's achievable with the current technology. However, how do you encode it? How are memories encoded? How is what I'm seeing in front of me with your pretty faces, how is that stored in the brain? And how can I access that again later on when I'm thinking about me podcasting earlier?
Because we don't know. I mean, okay, yeah, the scientific answer is to say it's all, coded chemically in the neurons, but I can't help but wonder with our brains and all that, is something stored up in the cloud? Do we each have our own cloud that is like when we become conscious or sentient as a being? I don't know, for some reason I have this image that we have our own cloud that stores our data. It's not all.
You've got a giant invisible energy tentacle coming out the top of your skull up to the sky.
It kind of looks like a very big Pakled helmet, for reference. But.
I don't know. And then you think about all the emergent properties that come from the complexity of the human brain, like our sense that what gives you your identity. So the internal monologue that you have about what you're going to say next, or when you daydream, where do all those things come from? And how would you encode them into a digital format?
And how are you aware of them as they happen?
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
All those terabytes, whatever you said, of neurons and synapses, aren't we already using them? So if we downloaded some program or whatever, then wouldn't we be losing some part of us as it makes room for more of those? Like, aren't we already using all of our synapses in our brains that...
Oh, all right, okay. So if our brain's already full, like
I
the
mean,
storage capacity is
isn't it?
full, but you're constantly making new memories. But then are there memories that aren't important
Right.
to us, like what you had for breakfast 13 years ago?
Isn't it going to be a give and take? Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, but that happens all the time. Because you get rid of
Okay.
stuff that you don't need, and you replace it with stuff that is relevant to the moment or very memorable. If you were going full digital, then you run out of space. You just add more memory. Plug another memory card in.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
like-
we use it all. They used to say that humans only use 10% of their brains, and they've since,
Yeah, it's been
science has
heavily
since found
debunked.
that's not quite accurate, but I really don't think we use it all.
I
know I
don't
don't.
I'm not sure
But we
the
don't know
science
how
behind
we-
that.
Yeah, I mean,
The problem right now, though, is we don't know how memories are stored, what the format is. There's no way to download our memories because we don't know what the code is, right? That when we're storing digital information, it's just a bunch of ones and zeros, and that's not how our brains work. So I'm assuming that there is research going on now to try to figure out what the format of the file storage is in our brains.
and it varies from person to person because, like, some people think in words and sentences and all that, and then there's people like me that think in pictures. So, like, are my memories in GIF or GIF format or JPEGs? And your memories are a Word doc, or.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Ria's dead to me now. She said GIF.
I was asking if it was GIF or GIF. Trying to appease both sides of the controversy.
Why would it be GIF though?
Because the
It's a-
rules of English pronunciation say that an I after a G makes the G a soft G, which sounds like a J. But we also know that English rules of pronunciation are basically garbage. So,
Plus the word that the G stands for is graphics.
right. And if it's
It's a
spelled
ga-
GR as in graphical, then it would be a hard G. But when it's abbreviated GI, I also really don't care.
Yeah. Yes, I think then you get the whole argument, like, do you have a soul, which the Bobs struggled with. How would that be encoded? Is it part of your brain, or is it some other aspect of being that we don't yet understand or we don't yet have access to?
Well, and one thing that I think the Bobiverse books push more than Star Trek does. So, like, let's talk about Ira Graves. He downloads into data. If he were to take that information and download into another android, would it be the same Ira Graves that is downloaded into data? Right? There might be some degradation. There might be different personality traits, as I'm learning reading this story. But so that's questionable too. Like, are you unique if you are able to download into another device?
Who knows? But I love the idea of, like, if like I am just now, I'm quite happy to be alive, because there's lots to learn and lots to do and lots of experiences yet to be had. Are we pre-programmed as biological organisms to be okay with death when it comes around? So do you just reach a point in your life where you go, life has been enough, my 70, 80, 90, 100 years has been enough, it's time for me to go? Just because we've evolved to die over hundreds of thousands of years. But I'd like for there to be something else to exist in my same state.
Kind of like
Gone from
Spock in
physics
Star Trek
teacher
3.
to metaphysics teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to
I just want to
contrast.
see what 2368 is like.
Yeah.
Just to pick a Star Trek date. So yeah, I don't know, it intrigues me. And there's lots of transhumanists around. There are people that actively seek to become transhuman or become a digital version of themselves.
So I guess, quick question for each of you: would you become a transhumanist, or does that interest you?
Ooh.
Yes.
I used to say yes, but now I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be alone. And as long as you can assure me that we could all be there together, I'd say no.
Yeah, I would have to have the condition that if I wanted to end my life and be done, like you, Joe, it's like, okay, I've lived my life, that I would have control over that. I do not like the idea of living for eternity.
Ending up like Sonny B. Clemens and crew in the Neutral Zone episode. Yeah, no. As much as I love life and love every minute of it, I'd say no also. But then I also, believe that there is a life to come and other fun stuff to look forward to. So.
Did any of you watch The Good Place?
Yes.
Yes, which was actually The Bad Place.
Yes, but did you remember the ending of The Good Place? How that whole series wrapped up with
Yeah.
Should I plug my ears?
It's a great show, Ria. I highly recommend it. And if you plan to watch it,
okay,
I don't need to say anything more. I just.
No, I agree with you, Kevin, and I actually think about that a lot, and that is what has informed my decision on why I never want to live for eternity. Mm-hmm. Like, it answers that. So yeah, I completely understand what you're saying.
Kevin, what you're saying agrees with Amy's point about having sole access to the kill switch, having ultimate choice about if you are a Matrix on a ship travelling out to explore the universe, then, and you've done enough of it, you've seen everything that there is to see after 3 trillion years of exploring and meeting every possible thing that exists and scanning every atom of the universe, then you think, yeah, I'm done now. Then you just explode in a supernova and become a new Big Bang and seed a new universe. That's what I'm going to be when I grow. That's what I'm going to be when I grow up. The seeds of a new universe. I've decided.
Cool.
Well, listeners, let us know if you would agree to going into transhumanism. That's an interesting question. All right, Joe, I came up with a very important question stemming from one of my favorite episodes, The Loss. And in that episode, the Enterprise D is caught in this 2-dimensional wake, these beings that are 2-dimensional, and they're pulling the Enterprise through. And at the same time, Troy loses her powers. But it's that idea of 2 dimensions. Would we even know, do 2-dimensional, things, life forms exist? And would we even know that they exist? Because we live in a 3-dimensional world.
We live in a 3-dimensional universe. And so every data point about all science comes from the fact that we are 3-dimensional. And are there other dimensions out there? Well, possibly, but we've never detected them. The math or the mathematics behind multiple dimensions or 2-dimensional or 1-dimensional existences holds up. You can explain it with the mathematics, but as to their existence, it's a big maybe. Maybe in a few thousand years' time, when we have the technology to detect such things, maybe. Now, 2-dimensional beings that are like us, would they exist? Then probably not, because your esophagus travels from your mouth down to your anus, essentially. So if you were two-dimensional, you'd be split in two, because your esophagus is a passage that would cut your body directly in half. So we wouldn't exist in these kind of three-dimensional forms because they can't be held together in a two-dimensional space.
Right. Have you seen Flatland?
The point in space, and
Yes,
yeah, I love it.
The
It's
sphere.
brilliant. Yes.
Yeah, the
and the
sphere
playing
goes
cards.
through.
Yes.
Yes, and it passes through the plane, and a sphere shows up as a circle.
Yes.
And so it's like, what would we look like? I mean, I guess just a cross section.
Yes.
What would we even look like?
Well,
I don't know.
we'd look like that cross section that would cause us to fall apart because of the mouth anus divide. Let's call it that.
It depends on the cross section, because if
Right.
it doesn't intersect our mouth anus, our methanus,
Yeah, it could be horizontal, vertical, at
Diagonal.
any slope. Yeah.
Yeah,
it could just
but
be like a
in-
sliver of arm.
Yeah, in any case, it's only a tiny cross-sectional sliver of the whole being. So it wouldn't... What would you be detecting? You'd have to... I don't know, how would you visualise that as a two-dimensional being? You would have to kind of save up all the cross-sections and then have some kind of algorithm that added them together.
Have you ever had an MRI? That's
No,
exactly
but
what an
I get-
MRI does.
Yeah.
It takes cross-sectional snapshots.
Huh.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, that would be us in 2D. But then that's the interesting thing. If we were to go into two dimensions, what part of us, which MRI shot would be there?
Right. Only one sliver at a time. Yeah.
And would we be existing in an infinite number of two-dimensional planes at once? I don't know.
So what happens
think
if we
we
went
would
into
die.
the two-dimensional place? People came to visit us, but also at the same time, the four-dimensional people came to visit us.
Yeah.
So how would the four-dimensional people see the two-dimensional people?
They would.
I
Do you
cannot
know what I mean? We can,
imagine that.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
And
I
all of
can't
our
even imagine a
experience-
four-dimensional person.
yeah, we don't have the sensory organs to perceive. In our case, we don't have the sensory organs to perceive a two-dimensional universe or a four-dimensional universe, and vice versa. So, like, we couldn't even perceive each other. It would have to be technological somehow to translate their universe into our three dimensions.
Yeah, that's the extent. That's the limits of
Yeah.
our knowledge. Just a grunt from the Neanderthals. Yeah.
So leading
no
on to
understand.
that, well, leading from that, which is a good segue, like think about schisms, those subspace beings that were trying to get, our dimension into their dimension. That's sort of a good segue, like subspace that protects them from our world. I don't even understand what subspace is, and why is it that
'Cause nobody
subspace
does.
messages go through faster?
Yeah, it's purely a science fiction construct.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the only
So there's no such thing as subspace,
That
No.
we know of yet.
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
there is
yet.
something called antimatter,
Yes, that exists.
but not subspace.
Correct.
Oh, I did not know that.
Subspace is, I suppose, is a thing that you would use in math more, like a subset of numbers, or
Yeah. Yes.
But in terms of the real universe, there's no such thing as subspace. How do we visualize this? The Star Trek version of subspace? Is it like our space, our three-dimensional space, is like the skin of an onion? And then as you peel away the layers of the onion, you get to different sub-onion layers. And you think of subspace like that, but they all exist within the same, same dimension, if those exist. Are they a bit like Geordie and Ro being phased? They can exist in the same space, but it's just slightly misaligned from the rest of the universe.
Well, are you familiar
knows?
with different multiverse theories? Or
I'm not.
multi-dimensional universe theories, like string theory, where there's so many of them, but 11 dimensions and that we actually exist in, but the other dimensions are so small and so tightly curled up that we only perceive the 4 dimensions, the 3 space and 1 time. But that's how I have in my headcanon see subspace is it's an acknowledgement of a multi-dimensional universe that we live in, and subspace is one of those. It's like the 8th dimension or something, and that's why things can travel so fast is because it's kind of a shortcut, like a dimensional shortcut from in our 3-dimensional space, point A to point B. But for subspace, they're right next to each other.
Ria dropping some science.
Ria not as dumb as she look, Joe.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
But that's just my theory. What do I know? I'm not a scientist, Joe.
Yeah, Joe, you could have infinite theories about things at the end of the day. What it's going to come down to is, are these things detectable? Can we prove any of the theories to be real? And right now, yeah, can we have theories that we can have a mathematical construct that holds up? Does it make sense? Is it likely to exist? And then, if it does, then scientists have to create some kind of technology to be able to detect it.
So in Star Trek, have we ever been able to travel through subspace, or only send messages? Because I think...
Does warp drive not slightly push the ship into primary subspace layers to get it to... There's something about that somewhere.
No,
I know.
That's just a warp bubble.
It warps,
I know.
yeah, the space, the 4-dimensional
The
space-time.
Cochrane field warps space different ways behind the ship and in front of the ship, so you get a wave. The Enterprise is always riding a wave through space.
It's surfing. But
yeah.
I think subspace kind of ties back to the, the 2-dimensional or the different dimensional space where we can send messages and whatnot because that's just energy. That's just electromagnetic waves or whatever. But we ourselves cannot go into subspace because it's a different number of dimensions, whatever it is, and we're 4-dimensional again if you count time, and we can't exist in subspace. So that's why we can't travel through subspace, but we can, message Starfleet Command. But I could be wrong there.
Because the energy.
According to Memory Alpha, subspace is the medium by which faster-than-light transit was possible. Warp travel utilized subspace to create a warp bubble for ships to safely traverse. Without subspace, warp travel would become impossible.
Interesting.
But there are some species...
Forget everything I said.
There are some species that are indigenous to subspace, including the schisms life forms. But it says in bold italics, exactly what subspace is has never been revealed on screen, though many theories, both fan-based and scientific, have been put forward. Explaining subspace would be hard since it is used as a solution and cause of various problems throughout the series. It is implied to be the medium through which fast travel and communication is possible, similar to hyperspace.
So I just had a random light bulby kind of thought. There are 2 things in the universe. You have that book, Amy, as well. Cool. Amy and I were just consulting the Star Trek The Next Generation technical manual, which was written by Rick Sternbach and Mike Okuda. And this was, it's dead old, isn't it? It was... When did we get this, Amy? Like 1996 or something?
I got that book back in the 90s.
Yeah,
when 1991. The show was still on, I think.
Yeah, 91.
Yep.
Oh, cool. And it's entirely factual, people. Yeah, it's all got real science in it. So to come back to my thought about the speed of light specifically, the speed of light is defined by 2 constants: the permittivity and the permeability of free space, which are 2 things that really describe how easy it is for electric fields and magnetic fields to travel through a vacuum. Okay. The speed of light is equal to 1 divided by the square root of the product of the permittivity and permeability of free space. So it goes C equals 1 over the square root of epsilon naught, mu naught, or me naught, however you're saying your Greek letters. You could imagine, because those are both constants, universal constants, it makes the speed of light in a vacuum a constant. 299,000 blah, 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 meters per second, 299 million and something, like 768,000 meters per second. You can imagine a subspace layer having different constants for the permeability and permittivity of free space, allowing electromagnetic waves to propagate faster through that medium.
Ooh, I like it.
Okay.
Well, that's what Q said he would do in one episode. It might have been Voyager. Oh, I just changed the whatever space-time constants.
I'm just thinking. I had a wee kind of daydream there for a fraction of a second to 5 years in the future, where the guy that invents FTL travel during his Nobel Prize for Physics acceptance speech thanks me because I mentioned something that nobody had ever thought of on a podcast.
Yes.
Amazing.
That's one of you listeners.
Mm-hmm. If you're listening, you're a physicist, go invent.
Yep.
It's a good thing you're going to be transhuman so that you'll still be around to hear that.
Yeah, and I'll be able to transmit copies of myself all across the universe. Do you remember that episode where we had 9 billion all Joe? Yeah, with the Borg.
Oh gosh.
The Borg assimilated the Earth. It'll be like, the universe is just 5 billion trillion all Joe. Love it.
You're like the transporter guinea pig that kept duplicating you. And Joe Keegan, Thomas Keegan, Thomas Keegan, Thomas Keegan, Thomas Keegan.
Oh, funny. Okay, what's next?
So
I'm on a roll.
Sort of
feed me the science questions.
Yeah. So that sort of goes to my next sort of back to basics, talking about energy versus physicality. So I'm always, I don't know the difference. Shields, deflectors, torpedoes, like photon torpedoes, or what are the other one called?
Phasers?
Phasers, yeah.
Phasers and photon torpedoes.
And then deflectors and shields. Like some of them are energy based and some are actual physical.
Matter based.
Let's deal with one question at a time. Yes. So,
that was the question, Joe.
Yes. Deflectors are both shields and how do you describe it? So the shields, when Picard says raise shields, and you get that kind of elliptical energy bubble that surrounds the ship and becomes a barrier for certain energy weapons and physical weapons, so that things can't actually get to the hull of the ship and cause damage. It doesn't stop all electromagnetic radiation, because obviously light can still pass through, because you can still see outside the bubble in the visible ends of the spectrum. Your deflectors, I think of as deflectors as being the navigational deflector. Now that thing below the saucer section, the blue thing, which emits some kind of energy field, so that when they're travelling very, 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 very fast, that it deflects small particles of space debris out of the path of the ship. Because very, very small things, if they collide with the ship at very high velocities, will cause huge amounts of damage.
But how can a energy deflector deflect actual matter?
Okay, so
it's the same way that we can touch things and not fall through, because we're mostly empty space. Ooh, anyway, whatever, go Joe, but this stuff is exciting.
So dead simple examples, if you've got like a polythene or an acetate or an acrylic ruler, and you rub it with a cloth to charge it up with electrostatic, so you're either making it all positive or all negatively charged depending on the type of ruler and what you've used to charge it, and then you turn your tap on with a really fine laminar flow stream, and you bring the ruler close to the flow of water. The flow of water will come down and then bend under the ruler because of the polar nature of water molecules. So one side, the two hydrogen atoms on one side of the water molecule are positively charged, and the other side, being the oxygen, is slightly negatively charged. So yeah, all the water molecules all flip upside down, and not upside down, they flip the other way and become attracted to the charged rod. Okay. If you scale that up into a real life scenario, you've got the Earth's magnetosphere, the giant magnetic shield that surrounds the Earth, which sounds like something from science fiction, but it's a byproduct of the iron core being under motion and the electrical currents which exist in that. And anytime you've got moving iron and electrical currents, you're going to have a magnetic field set up. So any wire, like my iPhone is charged, my cable is charging my phone, there's going to be a magnetic field around this wire because there's a current flowing through the copper wire in it. Likewise, the currents deep under the Earth are causing magnetic fields to exist, and the magnetic field extends way out into space, and it protects us from huge amounts of harmful particle and electromagnetic radiation that comes from the sun primarily. If it wasn't for the magnetosphere, the Earth would be a charred ball of rock. Like the oceans would have been vaporised, the atmosphere would have been blasted off into space, and there would be absolutely nothing alive. We'd look more like the moon than the luscious green Earth that we've come to know and love. So, do shields work in a similar way? Possibly. The US Army had an idea to counter IEDs, now improvised explosive devices, where, to my understanding, so you'd have cameras all round your tank or your armoured personnel carrier looking for explosions happening in close proximity to your vehicle. If an IED went off, you'd have a shockwave which was going to do a great amount of damage and potentially kill the inhabitants of your vehicle. So just before that shockwave reached the vehicle to do damage, you would fire lasers from multiple angles just before the shockwave, and those lasers would create a counter shockwave. Yeah, that would cancel out the initial shockwave from the IED, so there would be no wave. It would be like it would be destructive interference in a way.
Right.
They were prototype.
So they're like poking holes in the wave so that the wave can't continue?
Kinda. It's a bit like noise cancelling headphones.
Well, when they launch a shuttle. So I'm sorry to interrupt. When back in the day when NASA would launch its shuttles, if you ever watch the videos, you see them spraying water on the like the booster rockets, where the bottom where where all the exhaust is coming out. And the reason for that is the spraying of the water. It was basically noise canceling. It was to interfere with the sound waves coming out, because otherwise the sound of the launch would be so deafening it would, damage. I think it would knock buildings down. So the water was like the noise canceling for that, by interfering with the sound waves.
Yeah.
Okay, so interference, destructive interference, which is the one we're interested here in, is where the crest of one wave meets the trough of another wave. And so that high peak of the wave and the low peak of the wave kind of meet, and so they cancel each other out, and you ultimately get no wave. Noise cancelling headphones work in exactly the same way. So you've got your music that's coming into your ear, but there's also a lot of background noise. Okay, which your ear will hear as well. So instead, there's a little microphone on your headphone which is sampling the background noise, and it basically takes the background noise and flips it upside down and plays the background noise through your ear, into your ears. So you're hearing the peak then trough of the background noise, but you're also hearing the trough then peak of the artificially created background noise. So you cancel out any background noise.
So in effect, the noise cancelling headphones are a sonic shield against the background noise.
Yeah.
And the shields of a starship work the same way, hypothetically, where, because, they'll talk about like being able to penetrate the shields, and in which movie was it where they hack Geordi, the Duras sisters?
Generations, yeah.
Yeah, to find out the shield frequencies and all that. You're able to bypass the shields if you can, and Joe, you can probably explain it better, because the shields have a certain wavelength, certain, peaks and troughs and all that.
Yeah.
And that's how they're able to defend against, energy blasts, is that this energy blast comes in with its own set of wavelengths, and unless it's able to either probably cancel, I would imagine, the wavelength of the shields, it can't penetrate it. It'll, kind of bounce off the way that that the water, dissipates the sound waves from the launch. Yeah, I don't know, Joe. You can probably explain it better. That's my.
Is that? Do you know what I suppose shields like that, like ship shields, it's kind of up to your imagination to figure out how they work. How does it fit in your headcanon? Right now, we don't have that level of technology that can create an invisible, impenetrable barrier. So think of the brig, and it looks like there's no prison bars on the brig, but there's a kind of glowy field at its extremities, and you can touch it and it does a bzz noise.
Yeah.
Some brig shields hurt when you touch them, others don't. How do they work? Are they just really powerful kind of fields of force? Currently, in terms of forces, there are 4 fundamental forces in the universe. Gravitational, which is the weakest but also has the longest range. Gravitational fields extend out to infinity. You've got the strong nuclear force, which Ria is the reason why we don't fall through things, because the nuclei of atoms repel each other, even though the atoms are mostly empty space. You have the weak nuclear force, which is that force which is responsible for weak interactions like beta decay, where a neutron decays into a proton and an electron and an anti-electron neutrino. And you've got one other force, the electromagnetic force, which is transferred via photons. Is our shields one of those? Are they electromagnetic? Are they just big magnetic fields which deflect things? Who knows?
Well, if you look at current technology and like radiation, for example, you've got different types of radiation: alpha, beta, gamma. In the future we'll have delta radiation, and poor Christopher Pike will learn about that. But alpha radiation is basically protons, and the shielding that we use now for alpha radiation, it could be a piece of cloth. Like if there's alpha radiation, as long as you don't ingest it, it's not going to penetrate your skin, for example. Then you have beta radiation, which is basically electrons. Okay, so that requires more shielding. An electron can penetrate more types of matter than a proton. Gamma radiation is photons, basically. So that's like the UV light from the sun and all that, which obviously can penetrate our skin and penetrate much deeper. Apparently, in the TOS era, they didn't have appropriate shielding for delta radiation, at least not when that accident happened with Pike. But I don't know. I think it goes back to resonances and wavelengths and all that. Like the shielding on a starship would need to be able to, it needs to protect against physical matter. So that'd kind of be the alpha radiation equivalent. It needs to protect against, just like the type of radiation you get in space when you're not on Earth, protected from, with the atmosphere protecting us from the sun, the amount of, what's the word for space radiation? I can't think of it.
It's cosmic radiation, yeah.
Yeah, is so much more severe. So, the starship has to protect against that anyway. But then you've got these targeted energy weapons. This stuff is so exciting. I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
Hey, so Ria, talking about all of those different types of radiation, all of us remember when we went to the Science Museum in Chicago? Mm-hmm. And they had this one station, Joe and we were there for, I don't know, a good half hour. But they had sort of this screen and pictures, and you would slide them over to see how an X-ray would affect this picture, or how a gamma ray would affect this. And you could visually see how those rays and those waves affected. And then the challenge was to put the correct picture with the correct ray, I guess. I don't know, X-ray, gamma ray, whatever. But that was really good, and it gave me a visual. So as you were describing those different rays and spectrums, that's what I thought of. And I'm like, oh, we were all there together.
That's right. Galaxy class field trip.
It feels like a million years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
We really underestimate the power of the electromagnetic spectrum, because with our human eyes, we can just see the visible part of the spectrum, but you've got everything else. From radio, microwaves, infrared, then at the other end, ultraviolet, X-rays and gamma rays. And stars in the universe emit all of these things. But when we look at them, we only see a tiny sliver of the information that the stars are emitting. So astronomers always try and look at the other bits. So different, like the Chandra X-ray telescope, and there's gamma ray telescopes in space that, and ultraviolet and infrared, and you've got radio telescopes on Earth that basically look at stars and they build up a picture of the star in its entirety, rather than just a little sliver from 400 to 700 nanometers that the visible spectrum emits in.
So I'm sorry, but this is all coming right around to our discussion with the 2D and 3D. Like, we have been able, with our technology, to understand these different rays and sort of their own little universe there. And if life is a pattern, if we're recognizing all these different waves, we might be able to recognize all the different dimensions.
Be curious to know which type of waves we could use to perceive these dimensions.
That's
What's
the biggest
common?
if, isn't it?
Yeah.
Both questions.
Yeah.
Huge if.
We'd have to ask Geordie, because Geordie, we see in this limited visible spectrum, but Geordie sees so much more of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's like, Amy, he can look at the, Andromeda Galaxy and see like all the different slides of the different views of that galaxy all at once. I wonder if he can see subspace. Probably not.
It's really interesting because Geordie's brain, being a human brain, has evolved to perceive the visible spectrum as the retina changes it into electrical impulses. His visor then takes the entire EM spectrum and does it like compress it down into like the visible range, so he can see everything, but as if it's in like fake radio to gamma. It'd be weird. How would you?
You don't see with your eyes, you see with your brain. Because like you said, it's electrical signals that go to our brain, and the visual cortex creates this basically artificial construct. Actually, the brain creates a two-dimensional or three-dimensional construct of a two-dimensional image that comes off of our retinas. So throw that in the mix. But Geordie's able to perceive the whole range of wavelengths that he sees. It's integrated into, it's not like it's dumbed down into what we
but how does the human brain that's evolved just to see a sliver, how does it manage the whole thing?
Because so for example, in the modern day, people who are blind, whether born blind or whatever, they have different technologies that they're experimenting with, where there's a couple different sensors. Like, so you have a camera and it'll it sees whatever, and then it'll send the electrical impulses to this sensor. Like, there's one that you wear on the tongue, so it'll stimulate the nerve endings on the tongue. The tongue has a lot of nerve endings, and people can actually, with practice, because the brain is very plastic, but the brain can take those nerve impulses that come from the tongue and convert them to visual images. And so the blind people can literally see with their tongue, because the tongue is attached to this camera and it's receiving.
I'm looking at you now.
Well, it would be difficult to speak.
They do the same thing like with sonar, right? Like, because they send out, and I've heard the same thing, like blind people with their tongues make a clicking sound, and they have trained their brain when they receive it back that there's like, okay, there's a wall, there's an empty space, I can walk through this door, because of the sonar that their brain is training how to perceive that type of wave.
Yeah, listening to
For
the
their
echoes.
Seeing with their
sight.
ears in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Like bats and, that's
Yeah.
how they fly.
Dolphins.
Yep.
Yeah.
and there's
that's very
you know
cool.
the evidence is showing that blind people are actually seeing. So they're the same kind of visual. Again, I'm looking around my room, and this artificial construct that my brain has come up with based on the electromagnetic input that the eyes are receiving. People that are using these different modes to gather the data are seeing, not exactly the same way, but who can tell? But they're actually seeing with different organs.
So, you know that episode where in season 1 we get to see what Geordie sees? I never really was happy with that. I mean, I get that, it's cool, but the sharpness of detail, like it's just a blob. Like, how do you even know? And we have such sharpness, right, in our focus, and he's able to see more. Why wouldn't he be even sharper? I don't know. That always bugged me when we see what Geordie sees. I'm like, I'm sure he sees
I think
better.
his brain takes that same data and sees it a lot better than what our brains do with that data, seeing it on the computer view screen.
What Geordie saw in that episode looks exactly like what the handheld thermal imaging camera sees in school. It's a visible camera with a thermal imaging camera, and it overlays the visible light spectrum with an infrared image, and so you kind of see the visible outlines of things with their heat signatures.
That's cool.
Yeah, it looks exactly like what Geordie saw. So yeah, I didn't buy that either, because he would see all sorts of things. He would look up at the sky and see stars being so much brighter than they were, because he would see from the radio end to the... Actually, I think the universe, from his perspective, because of the abundance of radio waves just travelling through the atmosphere, he would see that everything would look really bright. So he'd have to dial it down, or dial maybe certain frequencies down in order to be able to perceive, rather than just being overexposed.
And I wonder if he sees in different dimensions because of that. There's like an additional dimensionalities to his vision that we don't have.
Like overlays, like okay, I think I get what you mean.
Yeah, how the brain that can process, a petabyte of information.
Like Snapchat filters that you can switch on and take off. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! From this moment on, Geordie sees in Snapchat filters. We've all got little bunny ears and whiskers.
Yeah, we've got rosy cheeks and and really big eyelashes.
Yes.
Red lips.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Thank you. You've ruined Geordie for me.
Amy, I realised that was a 20-minute conversation on one part of your 5 questions that you asked for that last section. So we hadn't dealt with phasers and torpedoes.
We might need a separate episode for the energy weapons of Star Trek.
Like dead simply, a torpedo is a physical device. Yeah, and it's got a little warp engine in it, and so it has access to a small amount of matter and antimatter. So when the torpedo detonates, it releases the antimatter, which mutually annihilates with the matter. So it's a small matter-antimatter explosion. That's what a torpedo is. Okay.
I did not know that.
Phasers, my understanding goes, as far as phasers require nadion particles, and they're just made up for science fiction. But a phaser is a step up from a laser in that it uses a particle beam. So you've got some kind of physical matter particles and some kind of light electromagnetic part of the spectrum, and they're in tune, and so they travel together. So you get the cutting effect of a laser, but you also get the kind of punchy impact effect of a particle beam, like a proton beam. So there was a story from the LHC at CERN where the particle beam, little bundles of, like, say, thousands of protons being accelerated to near, like, 99.9% the speed of light, and the beam became misaligned, and it punched a hole, like, through 3 feet of steel or something like that. So very, very tiny masses, like billionths upon billionths of a fraction of a gram of protons. But
So
they're
there's a
traveling
tiny
so
replicator inside each phaser that's creating these tiny particles of matter. That's how we'd make a phase, make a beam, right?
Well, I suppose all you need to make a particle beam made out of protons is a small supply of hydrogen gas. So your hydrogen is made up of one proton, one electron, orbiting, like in the episode where they couldn't sleep. Or was that what was the one where they had Deanna was having the nightmare, and the aliens were trying to communicate with her, like one moon circles.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and then
Two
Data.
moons.
Yeah, Data realised, that's hydrogen they're describing.
Yes.
So they had to emit hydrogen into the Bussard collectors, and then the aliens were trapped as well. The aliens could detonate it, and they could all escape. Anyways, so you take your proton, electron, little hydrogen atom, you use a big electric field to strip out the electrons, so you end up with a soup of protons, and then you just use electric fields to accelerate the protons up to nearly the speed of light, and that gives you a particle beam.
Cool.
So that's a phaser.
Yeah, and keeping in mind that energy and mass are equivalent, E equals mc squared, so c being the speed of light, the closer you get it to the speed of light, square that's that much more energy that teeny little piece of mass has.
Yep, 9 times 10 to the power 16. The speed of light squared.
Well, Joe, thank you so much. And Ria, oh my goodness, we got some major science dropping knowledge going on.
My brain has exploded.
I think we've got Mirror Ria with us just now. The non-Pakled version.
Yeah.
Because our version from this universe is stupid as.
Wow.
I got my hairs cut. Maybe I cut the dumb ones off.
Yeah.
You know what? I moved out of Nebraska. Anyway.
There you go. Automatically smarter.
Like a phoenix from the ashes. It is risen.
Well played.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm in Phoenix.
Exactly.
That was so much fun talking about all that science there, guys. Thank you for asking me all the really difficult questions.
Incoming transmission.
We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also tweet your thoughts at Galaxy Class Pod. We'd love for you to reach out and comment. You can follow the network on Twitter and Instagram at BQN Podcasts.
Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show.
So, Amy, where can people find you if you're not currently existing one sliver at a time in a two-dimensional universe?
Well, when I'm not doing that, you can find me here on the network where I'm co-hosting All Good Things with my good friend Mark White. I am on Union Federation, which talks about what do we talk about there? The Orville. Oh, dear. And we cover the new Trek shows. You can find me on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, but my favorite place is on Facebook at the BQN Collective. So, Kevin, where can people find you when you are living for eternity or not?
Well, I'm probably not, but you can find me on True North Nerds, which is a podcast I do with some local friends about all things nerdy and geeky. A lot of Marvel and Star Wars stuff lately. You can find me in the BQN as well. So, Joe, where can people find you when you are busily trying to upload your consciousness into large computers?
I'd be everywhere. I'd be watching you all through all the cameras all the time.
Oh, that's freaky.
In a non-creepy way, though. When I'm not doing that, you can also find me on the BQN Collective on Facebook. Is that what we call it? Yeah. You can tweet me on the Twitter at JoyJo77UK, which is the same as my Instagram. And you can email me, joepodcasts@gmail.com. And Ria, Where can people find the real Ria from this universe? Give us back our Ria.
Oh, that's it? When I'm not doing something clever?
That was it. I was asking Mirror Ria to give us back our Ria.
I think Prime Ria is dead. It's only me, Ria, now.
I ate her.
Well, you can find me, as we've discussed now, in Phoenix, and you're going to have to come visit me because I'm not going to be able to travel for the next year. So please do come visit Ria in the greater Phoenix area. Otherwise, you can find me virtually on the BQN Collective, occasionally posting silly TNG-related memes and other Star Trek memes.
So if you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. We're putting out more exclusive content for our patrons that you won't want to miss, like It's Green or Amy's Math Moments. With a monthly Patreon subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings of the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. So watch Patreon messages for details. Now, if you feel so inclined, please check out all the details at patreon.com/BQN. A huge shout out to our very own executive producers, Jim McMahon and Davey Willett. We are so grateful for your support.
Woot woot. And hey, have you guys listened to the newest BQN podcast, What's the Tea, Bev, hosted by Christos Yanaris?
Not yet.
They're
it's on my
nodding,
to-do
but
list.
not making the sounds. Yeah, I listened to the first episode that just dropped, and it was pretty gosh darn awesome, and excited for what's to come. Thank you, Christos. And if y'all don't know this, Gates McFadden is a fan of him.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, super exciting.
Nice.
At this time, we'd like to thank our executive producers who make all this possible. They are the amazing Mark White, the incredible Amy Nelson, the wonderful Tony Robinson, and the super duper Ken Tripp. A special thanks to the aforementioned wonderful Tony Robinson for our artwork.
Thank you for beaming aboard, Galaxy Class. And until next time.
I can safely say that to know him was to love him, and to love him was to know him. Those who knew him loved him, while those who did not know him loved him from afar.
Photon torpedoes! Away! Stay classy, Galaxy.
He blinded me with science.
Great joy and gratitude.
Engage.
Previously on BQN. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast.
They're feeling bad and they try to self-medicate to feel better, and that's why mental health, for example, is so important to help people cope with things so they don't turn to drugs to cope on their own.
Mm-hmm.
There's my Nancy Reagan moment.
There you go. See, we were raised in the DARE program.
Yeah.
Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast.
I love that Pike cooks with cast iron because I truly could not imagine him using any other kind of pans.
I didn't even notice that.
It's just that's a very in-character thing for him to cook on, like this, seasoned cast iron. It's probably like 300 years old, and I'm sure, yeah.
Galaxy Class, a Star Trek The Next Generation podcast.
But the biggest reason, of course, being that, Worf is undiscompensated. So his, obviously, redemption.
How would we say that?
Commendated?
Or commendated? Yeah, if he was discommendated, then
Recommendated?
I accommodated.
Accommodated.
There we go.
You will find these and more of your favorite podcasts on BQN.